is Barbara Threecrow, and I'm here today live on peopleforpeople.ning.com to read from one of my books. I think probably wrote this book a long time ago, I guess maybe, 2009 or earlier than that, I guess. And these are some things that I'm sharing that have been my personal experiences, as well as through spiritual guidance and insights and information. And I've been reading this, The Return of the Sacred Feminine and the teachings of the grandmothers. And when I say the teachings of the grandmothers, I mean the teachings are those in the realm of spirit, or the ancestors, who I've been in touch with since early childhood. And so I'm going to, I think I completed chapter 8 last week. And thank you for showing up. And I'm going to start with the last paragraph of chapter 8, and then I'll get into chapter 9. And starting off with, we've talked about this over and over again about the how things are moving rapidly, and so with full force we are moving rapidly into our future. We cannot apply the brakes. If we attempt to stop the natural process, the results could be even more unbearable. We each have great power to create our own reality, and we unconsciously create this on a daily basis, depending on our beliefs and our focus. We can use the gift of free will and the power given us by choosing to be conscious co-creators. We can create our world in accordance with all that the sacred hoop represents by focusing our thoughts, our words, and actions upon love, healing, forgiveness, peace, and harmony. All of life is linked together throughout the sacred web, and no matter our choices, each will affect all else. Every one of us. In other words, we all are affecting everything. The plant kingdom, the waters, all animals, as well as the Mother Earth, and yes, all of humanity. Chapter 9. The Soul. It is believed that the soul has a fixed and persistent intent and purpose, and manifests spirit within every living being. Each spirit is a unique and vital principle or animating force, which upon birth becomes the embodiment of every human's distinct essence. Every human becomes a unique and concrete form of will, conscious choice, unique character, and ethical and moral characteristics. The everlasting soul determines when and where it will incarnate, and manifests within each newborn all that makes up that child's original and distinct spirit. This becomes desire, one's true nature, creativities, gifts, and goals. The determination of soul is for the human to determine the divine self through enlightenment during our lifetime. The soul embodied in the human had determined particular life lessons and the challenges it will seek to experience in each concurrent life. In order to become an enlightened being, it is crucial then that we do realize the soul within us and discover our soul's original promise, and of course its desire, which is that we humans recognize ourselves as sacred, that we strive to develop ethical and moral characteristics that were originally determined by our soul. Well, what happens to the spirit upon death? I think this is a universal question. At the time of physical death, the unique essence of our spirit will cease to exist. We might say that the soul is an ancient entity, a frequency of divine thought, of divine creation, which has been seeded to experience human existence from the vision of an omnipresent frequency whose purpose was manifestation of creation. Now, some refer to this as God. I prefer Creator, Mother, Father. The soul is everlasting and is an essential source of the universal wisdom and truth. Upon the death of that which the soul had embodied, the physical body, the soul is then free to continue incarnation until its quest is fulfilled. By our recognizing the soul's definitive course as that which is an element of Creator's divine plan, and also that the soul has made an original agreement, will reveal to us a deeper understanding of the crucial part we each play during this lifetime. With each incarnation, we are given the opportunity to awaken and to realize the power we each hold as co-creators. When and if this realization occurs, we will attain enlightenment, and we will fulfill the Creator's divine plan and our own soul's purpose. As the earth changes and personal challenges continue to escalate, the elders advise us that now is the time for the awakening of all humans as we are being guided toward the age of light. Now, the age of light is prophecy, signifying that at this timeline we each have an opportunity to enter the fifth world of peace, which is an entirely unique system of the highest frequency we humans might achieve. This frequency is unconditional love, compassion, which when realized aligns us with Source, or the one true Creator. For centuries, humanity has been mired within the fourth world of chaos, or that which is manifested by frequencies on the lower scale. These consist of violence, war, judgments, greed, jealousy, and most of all, disregard for all that is sacred. Enlightenment is clarity, reason, wisdom, spiritual awareness, and a greater sense of our oneness with all creation. It is a blessed state of bliss and inner peace, unmarked by desire and even suffering. In other words, enlightenment is to become one with the soul, the light that is within us, and entirely free of ego. Past life memories. When we recall a past life, we are in fact awakened to the soul's memory of each incarnation and all that that soul had determined as crucial to our spiritual growth. Not only can we recall our many past lives here on earth, but some may also tap into a simultaneous experience of our existing in a parallel realm. This describes humanity's ability to transcend the earth plane and the physical self as we know it, and to become keenly aware of ourselves as able to function concurrently either in a future or past life. This might be described as a shamanic journey, where one enters through the veil into a parallel world. The earthbound experience consists of our having ego, which in part implies having fear, guilt, jealousy, arrogance, hatred, mistrust, doubt, and revenge. I think you get the picture. Our return to Earth is for the purpose of experiencing each of these challenges and to have the opportunity to either stay stuck within these negative earthbound energies or determine instead to become enlightened and to create a balance within ourselves, which in turn creates a balance within the sacred web. We cannot dispel the ego. It is part of humanness, but hopefully we can learn to recognize all that is attached to our ego, and by using free will, divest ourselves of the behaviors activated by these lower frequencies. Each of life's challenges is meant to help us accelerate our human earthbound experience into finally realizing higher consciousness. We can determine our progress by searching through our past lives. The cellular memory links many with Atlantean and Lemurian cultures, even the goddess cultures, and perhaps the time we may have lived within an indigenous culture, whose beliefs were aligned with the ancient earth practices. To seek to manifest our soul's knowledge and wisdom is to fulfill the soul's intention. Why would the soul need this? Well, the goal of the soul is to awaken each of us during this incarnation in order to fulfill the prophecy and transcend into the 1,000 years of peace. There are those who are called to this task who may experience resistance, even an overwhelming dread. For some, this might indicate a past life where they had been persecuted for their beliefs, which in this present incarnation becomes an internal battle, where one feels a great pull and a deep longing, yet they are unable to clearly understand what is being asked of them. They might, for instance, find themselves drawn to or desiring to explore alternative teachings, such as those that align with an indigenous culture or goddess culture. They might be called to a circle of women, yet upon arriving they experience an overwhelming fear, and they run away, unable to return. Now this might indicate a need to explore the possibility of a past life. It's very possible that they had suffered persecution, even having been murdered for their beliefs. We can and must become empowered and move beyond these challenges that continue to prevent us from fulfilling our purpose. It is possible to change events that occurred in a past life. And by using shamanic methods, we can journey to a past event. We can take steps to empower ourselves instead of being a victim and change the negative experience to a positive one. It is believed that we each take different roles during past lives. Some may have persecuted others, and then there are those who were victims of persecution. So we could say that no one is to blame and that everyone must take responsibility. It is crucial to our fulfilling our original promise in this present life that we break ties to past lives and heal every situation we've chosen to take part in. Some refer to this as karma. Now this can be achieved by forgiving those who may have harmed us and forgiving ourselves for the harm we may caused others. Might it be possible that both men and women are subject to past life memories where they had taken a role as either male or female, choosing a different gender in consecutive lives? If this is true, we could say, again, that no particular gender is to blame, for the soul has determined each of these past lives as essential to our growth. Discovering a past life. After many years, now this is a particular experience that a person had that I was working with who came to me for help, and her name is Gail. And so Gail finally found the courage to leave an unhappy marriage. Her situation remained painful due to her having left her young son behind, and she was now suffering from guilt and deep sadness. Although Gail and her husband had agreed this would be temporary and that as soon as she was able, their son would come to live with her. Yet when the time came for Gail's son to join her, he instead decided that he wanted to stay with his father. Unfortunately, during Gail's absence, her husband and his family had spoken badly about her, and this had turned her son against her. He then sided with his father. He refused to spend any time with his mother at all. For many years, Gail did not see her son, and she went through a difficult depression. When she came to see me, she was racked with guilt, and during our counseling session, I used a regression technique where it became clear that she and her son had experienced many past lives together. One past life that became evident showed Gail as a young woman living in a European city in the 15th century. To support herself as an artist, she sold her paintings in the village markets. She then had been chosen to marry a much older yet wealthy man, and she had given birth to a child. Soon after the birth of her daughter, her husband died, and she became destitute when his family claimed his property. She then saw herself on the street with no way to take care of her child, and she had no choice but to give him to an orphanage. She never saw her son again, and she died in old age as a pauper. I directed Gail to go deeper and to continue forward until she arrived at the next incarnation. There she observed herself in the 18th century as a spinster living in the English countryside with her beloved sister. The two sisters were dedicated to each other. Neither one had married, and they happily farmed their land, and they enjoyed a peaceful life. At this point in the session, it became clear to Gail that the sister who she happily shared life with, had in fact been the child that she had been forced to abandon in the 15th century. Understanding how past lives weave a web of interrelation, and how we meet each other over and over upon the sacred web, can help us to heal our grief, our guilt, and even our anger. The universal law, the sacred web. The universal law maintains the characteristic standard of all of nature. The sacred web can be understood within the rule of what is above, so below, and the theory of yin-yang, darkness and light, life and death, and rebirth. None of these characteristics conform to a linear rule, but show us, in fact, how according to the universal law, everything is in relation to and forever linked as one, every aspect balanced and harmonious, each reflecting its unique vibration, and in turn dramatically affecting all else. Sacred geometry, in its simplest form, is a circle, or to use the common language of native people, the sacred hoop, in which the earth, the universe, and the cycle of life is represented. The evolution of this sacred form expands harmoniously into multiple geometries as the sacred web, where everything is arranged with purpose. Each facet and form that consists of sacred geometry affects or is being affected according to divine law. Divine law, or Creator's law of one, tells us that we are all one, that all of creation is one in its entirety, that all is the sum of the whole. Humans are part of the sacred web. We are not separate or outside of the universal law of nature. We are powerful in that we create our own reality, and undoubtedly in doing so, we affect the balance of the web. We must realize the impact as disregard for humanity and the earth's natural resources escalates, and understand how this creates our reality as disharmonious and out of balance. Humanity's egotistical behavior is the soul's greatest challenge. This has created fear and doubt and greed and generations of imbalance. Each of these in turn create a sickness of the mind, body, and our spirit, and severely impacts the balance of the sacred web. Ultimately, joy and the 1,000 years of peace can only be achieved by our choosing to realign with that which is sacred, and then finally to realize the importance of our caring for all of creation and of our respecting all that the Creator holds dear. If and when this is achieved, a powerful healing vibration will begin to broadcast throughout the web, first beginning with ourselves as a still point. There may be some who do not yet realize the significance and the power of the natural law, so above, so below. They may have difficulty recognizing themselves as an essential part of the whole. They may not understand the concept of a soul embodied within every human, or its original agreement, its desire, and its relationship to the divine plan, which tells us that each of us are to fulfill our soul's original promise. Death of the spirit. The spirit within a human may die, recede, or seemingly disappear, yet he or she still remains among the living. We might recognize these unfortunates as the walking dead because they seem lifeless, without the will to live, and often they are filled with hatred, hopelessness, jealousy, and negativity. They may be greedy and unforgiving. They may have ignored their soul's desire and instead live their lives in fear, filled with sorrow, and they finally leave the earth without ever achieving their original promise. A person can actually kill another person's spirit, a child, for instance, whose spirit is naturally free and innocent. In the beginning, a child has a sense of wonder, freedom, and joy. Its essential awareness, or its initial awareness, is nearer to the true essence and divine soul, although not yet having the earthbound experience of fear, hatred, or prejudice, nor the concept of doubt. A wounded parent or caretaker of a child is capable of crushing a child's spirit by their own dysfunctional and abusive behavior, their own spirit having been crushed in their childhood. Dysfunctional behavior and self-abuse is learned in childhood, and later on surfacing as self-abuse through drug use, alcohol, and disregard for one's own well-being. This behavior may cause the eventual death of one's spirit. Self-inflicted harm blocks our ability to receive guidance from our own inner wisdom. The soul may attempt through serendipitous experiences such as dreams, illness, or accidents to awaken us with the hope that we change our negative behavior and seek spiritual advancement. The soul within us is a beacon of light and sends a continuous signal in order to alert us to its presence. Still, we often ignore every sign. Instead, we hold on to negative thoughts, having little or no faith, perhaps remaining even in a dysfunctional relationship. We suffer jealous thoughts and find we are angry at everyone and everything, and we allow fear to rule our lives. Soon, too, we may become one of the walking dead. Self-inflicted abuse, such as drugs or alcohol, emanate a lower vibration and brings despair and illness, leaving one vulnerable to negative energies known as walk-ins. Now, a walk-in is an entity which is aligned with dark entities, and these entities are very aware of human weakness. They will seek out those whose negative behavior allows a doorway or easy access into their physical bodies, then into their mind, and causing havoc. Soon one is overcome with disease of the body, mind, and spirit until one literally becomes a lost soul. When observing such a person as described above, we might notice an aura of darkness around them. With each new beginning of reincarnation, we experience society's pressure to conform to its rules, guidelines, intolerance, and prejudices. And during childhood, we may become physically and spiritually imprinted with trauma, and these early imprints will rule our lives. Yet, we are given the opportunity to heal generations of harm, not only regarding the earth and coming generations, but our own wounding. If we fail, we may lose our ability to gain enlightenment and the ability to create peace. If we succeed and become spiritually conscious, seeking truth and purpose, we will align ourselves with the soul embodied within, and we achieve enlightenment once the pathway to the soul self is found. This is the ultimate goal, sought through many incarnations. Enlightenment is achieved through our personal journey upon the sacred web, and by our gaining awareness of the great mystery and the part we each play according to the plan. Enlightenment is not achieved by our searching outside ourselves or following others to seek our truth, but is achieved through realizing ourselves as sacred and living life as a spiritually conscious human. The journey of the soul to earth is powerful. When it seeks to achieve is monumental, and every journey it embarks upon, all of its trials, teachings, and challenges, is a gift that is to be embraced. Now we can strive to achieve joy, unconditional love, and forgiveness in this lifetime, if we choose. Chapter 10. The Confrontation, the Dark Force. As a reincarnating soul, we each agree to experience the confrontation. The confrontation challenges our trust and faith, and is often a personal battle against the constant pull toward destructive and negative dark forces. These forces thrive on fear, greed, war, hate, and all that is opposite of that which is sacred. The confrontation with the dark forces and their attempt against our achieving enlightenment will continuously tempt us, pressing us to disregard and abuse the earth's natural resources, to be intolerant of others' differences, to be envious, fearful, hateful, and greedy. If we are unable to withstand these confrontations and move through the onslaught of negativity, we may continue the decline and disease of the mind, of body, and spirit. The soul's desire returns us through many incarnations to seek our truth and to realize the divine essence within each human, to learn to live with compassion, unconditional love, and forgiveness, so that we may create the age of light and humanity can live in peaceful coexistence. By our having trust and faith in Creator and in the greater divine plan, we will be assisted to stand strong during the confrontation with these dark forces and realize healing and finally peace. If we rapidly accelerate into our future, we are being challenged more than ever to gather courage to fight against that which attempts to prevent our fulfilling our original promise. The question remains, how do we become empowered to move forward with grace during these challenging times? We must be able to meet the confrontation with the dark, and this we achieve knowing that the light and unconditional love are powerful. There are many places on earth where war and violence have taken place. Having a clear and focused intention to clear any negative vibrations implanted there through the acts of humans is critical to the healing of the sacred web. What are the steps that we might take that will help heal what we have created through our ignorance? We each have an innate ability and free will to create peace. Do not let fear or the belief that peace is not possible dissuade us. We can achieve a peaceful world by empowering ourselves against all that the dark forces represent, and instead we can create our lives as peacekeepers by embracing the ecstatic experience that aligns us with the desire of our soul. I'm just going to take a drink of water. Hold on a second. So I'm going to ask this question again. So the question is, what are the steps we might take that will help heal what we have created through our ignorance? In other words, what I'm really saying here is that all of humanity is involved somehow in what we have created. And it may be through our ignorance, or perhaps some not so ignorant. Perhaps some have this agenda. Excuse me, and we certainly talked about that. But we can heal what has happened. We can participate that way. We each have an innate ability. We call it free will, to create peace, to not let fear or the belief that peace is not possible to dissuade us. We can achieve a peaceful world by empowering ourselves against all that is dark, all that the dark forces represent, and instead we can create our lives as peacekeepers by embracing the ecstatic experience that aligns us with the desire of our soul. To create our world as harmonious is to choose to live life as a spiritually conscious human. Peace is constant, always present, energetic, and universal. Therefore, it is up to each of us to announce our intention to the universe by aligning ourselves with the Creator's powerful light of love and peace. Confronting the dark forces, we are called to reconnect with the ancient ways and to deepen our relationship with Spirit, to pray daily, to create ceremony and honor the Mother Earth and each spirit imbibed within all that makes up our world. Why pray daily? I do pray daily. I do. It's part of my spiritual practice. It's my life, really. And some people probably don't even think about praying. And I'm not talking about religion. I want to make that clear. What I'm speaking about is your words, what your heart wants to say, let's say, to something omniscient or something far greater than you. If you could say God, as I say, I don't use that term, but I say Great Spirit or Creator, or something, just the intelligence that has created this most awesome, extraordinary earth and all, life. It's just extraordinary. So praying to me is not like that someone gave me the words to say. That's organized religion. I went through that as a child, but we have to learn, I think, how to speak to a creator or a great spirit or a God or something far greater than us from our heart. Because that's really, to me, what prayer is. It's like having a conversation with a dear friend or someone you respect, or let's say someone that is wise, more wise than you, or who might bring answers or insights or guidance. So you sit down and you have a conversation. That's what I mean by praying daily. It's like the consciousness of one's connectedness. That's a spiritual awareness, or a spiritually conscious human, is that I am connected to all things, right? And if you don't have that understanding of connectedness with everything, I think there's kind of like a blank space there. There's something missing, because in reality we are connected with everything. So anyway, you can create a ceremony too. Some people light a candle. Definitely I speak about honoring the Mother Earth. And what does that mean? In my tradition, I offer a sacred tobacco, or I just say I'm grateful to the Mother Earth for the abundance, the fruits, and her water, everything. So that's a prayer too, So, so this is, the next part of this chapter is called The Dark Self. And this is a story about a woman named Anne, who was one of my students. And she described her struggle against some unknown force and the experience that she was being engulfed in flames, like she felt like she was being engulfed in flames. That's how she described it. It became apparent how she was being challenged to embrace and accept that which she feared most, which was the confrontation with the dark self. clearly she had reached a crucial and decisive moment in achieving all that Spirit was asking of her. Fear and self-doubt had prevented her from having the courage to not only recognize, but to challenge those parts of herself that had ruled her, overruled her or controlled her. If Anne was unable to confront the inner darkness, personal truth would remain elusive for her. The challenges of the dark self may seem at times as though we are being engulfed in flames. Going through the fire is a metaphor, which describes a crucial period in our lives where we are being pushed to heal our destructive patterns and negative core beliefs, and to become empowered to fulfill our original promise. Now, I explained to Anne the importance that she surrender and embrace that which seemed fearful, and instead to open and receive the gift of healing and the powerful change that moving through the fire allows. Opening our hearts to surrender to our fears will lead us into the embrace of the omnipresent divine light, that which allows the experience of unconditional love, and that which helps us to find the courage to enter into the unknown. When finding ourselves within a dark place, overwhelmed and seemingly lost, we somehow always find our way. Facing our fears and that which holds us captive, we soon find a hidden hope, a distant spark of faith, and we reach toward the ever-present light. It is then that we are lifted up and out of that darkness. Always. I have experienced this. And I guess that's why I'm going to say always, and say it with confidence. Always where there is darkness, there is also light. Often when we find ourselves engulfed in darkness, we forget to seek help. We forget to pray to a greater being. Perhaps when we are lost in darkness, there is something to gain. It is important to remember that we are never alone, that the Creator Mother is ever present. If Anne were unable to confront the dark self, and she continued to resist the invitation to enter into the fire, her fears would continue to consume her. Now, entering into the fire, I guess what I'm trying to say here is, in order to make movement in life and to advance, to become more elevated or wise or worldly or gain more information, let's say, or to become, move towards who we are originally meant to become, sometimes we have to leap into that fire. And of course, that's terrifying, because what it is it's asking us to go into the unknown. And it's like, we were talking about letting go of the shore yesterday and going out into the raging river. So that's similar. Without moving out of your comfort zone, there won't be much movement for you in life. And yes, the fears continue to consume us. So many of us are being asked to let go and enter into the unknown. We can no longer resist the changes occurring in our world. And that's really very obvious. I mean, people are trying to resist, I guess. So, but I'm going to advise them that we should not any longer resist the changes occurring in our world. And according to indigenous prophecies, the way of entering the fifth hoop of peace is to let go and take a leap of faith to know that everything is according to the plan. I use the word divine plan because it's sort of like it's not just anybody's plan. All right, it's not my plan, it's not your plan, it's a divine plan. There's something going on here that seems to be, an intelligence. So that's why I say divine plan. Acceptance and letting go and our having a strong faith is the key to meeting the challenge of change. I explained to Anne how everything is as it is meant to be, and I exposed the divine plan that showed how every experience is a gift. Yes, every experience is a gift. But it is up to us to be open and be willing to expand beyond the illusions that the dark self clings to embrace the gift within our life experiences. And I'm also going to add to seek out the gift, because that again is up to us. So we can have, these experiences in life, and some of them could be pretty awful or challenging or frustrating or even shocking, I guess I'd say. Part of life's experiences and where we wind up, perhaps. But as I'm saying, there is a gift in every experience. That means every experience. But it's up to us to seek the gift. There's a hidden gift in every experience, and what that is it's a teaching. It's sort of like an insight of why you wound up there, how you wound up there, and is there anything good to be found within that experience? And I'm saying there always is, but you have to be willing to want to seek it out. The dark self has much to teach us. And when I say the dark self, I'm not talking about the dark entities or the evil entities or the sorcerers or that. I'm speaking about the dark self within us. We have the dark and light within us, the dark aspect and so on. And this is a teacher. The dark self is also a teacher. And as the opposite of the light and a contrary energy, all are meant to be maintained in balance. Again, it's all about balance. So both exist with a purpose, and neither can exist without the other. Now, you could be a person that is, let's say, way out of balance, where the dark is more prominent. In other words, the negativity is more prominent. Your attitudes of hopelessness or helplessness or anger or rage or self violations or whatever you're doing to harm yourself, that's the dark aspect of oneself, and that could be way out of balance. So the key is, again, is balance within everything. So when we understand the significance of both the dark and the light, it is our strong faith that helps us to let go of our fear of being devoured. We can then begin our shaman's journey into the natural flow of the river of life. The shaman's experience is that in order to heal or to find the cure that he or she knows, they must enter into the unknown. They will meet resistance in the form of demons. Metaphorically, they will experience being devoured, dismembered, and engulfed in flames. And that's, I'm describing here a shaman's way. In other words, the journey into the underworld or areas or alternative worlds where they must go through the flame or meet the demon to seek the cure. And I guess we're pretty much all on that same type of journey. This becomes the ultimate journey that they must partake in order to succeed. In other words, yes, if you're hanging on to the couch in your comfort zone or whatever, not willing to let go of the shore, you're not going to succeed very well. So we are also to begin our journey into the unknown and are meant to meet our own demons that are preventing us from succeeding. When we choose this journey, we gain self-empowerment and the uses of medicine tools to assist our assessing the unknown. We meet the challenges head-on, achieving our ultimate goal, which is to become whole and complete. It is the medicine woman, the shaman, or the medicine man, the shaman, who gathers their courage with strong intention. They go forward, entering into the dark void and the journey to enlightenment or the healing. By our accepting the power of the light and the soul's intention, we too will more easily meet the coming challenges and free ourselves from the dark force that have deliberately interrupted humanity's spiritual enlightenment. And that I see more and more occurring, that there has been a deliberate interruption of humanity's gaining spiritual enlightenment. My own shamanic confrontation with the dark force took place years ago. when I determined to discover the source of an overwhelming sense of fear and despair that had plagued me most of my life. To seek the answer, I proceeded to enter into the meditative state and begin my journey inward. I soon found myself staring at what looked to be like the roots of an ancient tree. These roots were old, and they were gnarled and misshapen, as though some unknown force had twisted them fiercely, causing great agony to occur. As I drew nearer, I observed an opening, like an entranceway hidden between the roots leading into the dark. As I observed this dark place, I saw way back inside a creature, some type of an entity staring back at me. Its face was twisted and leering, and frightened I stepped back, yet immediately felt a sense of power overtake me, and I determined that I had to destroy this creature. I called upon the badger, a fierce predator that was one of my protectors. It was at that moment that I clearly heard a voice speaking to me, saying that I needed to love this wounded creature, not kill it. As an act of self-empowerment, I had taken the shaman's journey to confront the dark entity in order to heal myself, but instead I discovered that by loving this wounded aspect of myself, that I finally released its control over me. I also realized that this entity had taken form long ago because of what had happened to me in childhood, and that it had been born into a despairing and fearful creature that remained hidden deep inside of me. And unbeknownst to me, this entity had over many years severely affected my life. There are many types of dark energies that can attach to us. They survive by feeding upon our fear and negativity, and are activated and drawn to that energy of despair, rage, and even hatred. Of course, if in childhood one was abused, the child would normally experience despair and rage and eventually hate toward others who have harmed them. The entities drawn to those low frequencies can only be dispelled through acts of love and forgiveness, not only for those who have harmed us, but for our own well-being. We must forgive ourselves. Chapter 11. Wow. I have 10 minutes. An hour flew by so fast. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to go into chapter 11. It's about, this is a wonderful chapter, Acceptance and the Healing Portal. And this is going to speak about some personal things that I have experienced. I just got done telling a story about a dark energy that was, I'm going to say, infested inside of me since childhood. And taking that journey inward, that shamanic journey, I found that source. And of course, my initial sense was to destroy this. But then I was guided instead to love this wounded creature that was part of me. Yeah, part of me. And when I did that, and I shifted that, because there was missing, in my childhood, that's what was definitely missing, was that love and cherishment. And that manifested this entity that was filled with this negativity. So I shifted that, and I released it, and I removed it with love, loving myself. And so that was really powerful, and I wanted to, I'm glad I had an opportunity to share that with you. And next week, I will continue with chapter 11, which is Acceptance and the Healing Portal. And again, it's about a ritual, a sacred stone healing ritual that was given to me. It's a very powerful experience, and so yeah, I'm thankful everyone is here today. I see some more people. Welcome, and I hope you enjoyed what I shared with you today. Yes. And I'm reading from my book, The Return of the Sacred Feminine, which, of course, I want to emphasize. This was a vision and prophecy given to me. It has nothing to do about eliminating the sacred masculine or our brothers. As a matter of fact, it has everything to do with them. So this is very important to share this information. And I'm grateful to be here, and thank you, Gaz, for helping me, for producing me today. And so, yeah, and I think that next coming up is Stone, our sister Stone, who I know is going to have a powerful show, and everybody come on to listen to Stone Hobbit, and out there in the way out there in the wild country, she chases cows and stuff like that out there. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. Stay tuned for Stone Hobbit, and I will see you. I will see you around the campus, because we are in a big school here, folks. And are we going to graduate? That's what I want to know. When are we graduating? I think we're in that process. This is that time. It's time to graduate, right? And, oh, thank you, Laz. Glad you're here. It's good to see everybody. Yeah, Troy, Laz, Neo, Gaz, Patty, hey sis, Angeline, yes, and Stone. You guys, thank you so much. Love you all. Doksha, Pilamaya.